Now we will discuss what will happen when lactate is the glucogenic precursor. So in this case, lactate is made use that is produced by glycolysis in the erythrocytes or anaerobic muscles. In the case like if we are doing a vigorous exercise and all, this from glucose, this lactate will be produced and they serve as this glucogenic precursor. So the conversion to lactate to pyruvate in the cytosol of hepatocytes will yield NADH, and we will not need all those steps of oxaloacetate being converted into malate and then transported out of the cytosol as in the case of when pyruvate is the precursor. In this it is very simple. This lactate is converted into pyruvate by lactate dehydrogenase enzyme, and then this pyruvate is transported into the mitochondria and it is converted into oxaloacetate by pyruvate carboxylase, and this oxaloacetate is directly converted into PEP inside the mitochondria itself. It is catalyzed by a mitochondrial isozyme of PEP carboxykinase, and then this PEP is transported out of the mitochondria. So this will happen when lactate is the precursor. This is the reaction. Now we will discuss the second glycolytic bypass, that is the conversion of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate to fructose 6-phosphate. This reaction is not reversible because it is highly exerogenic, and we require a different set of enzyme called MT2 plus dependent fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase, or shortly called FP-PASE1. So what will happen? This enzyme catalyzes this conversion reaction of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate to fructose 6-phosphate, and this bypass is also met by this enzyme. Now the third bypass and the final bypass is the conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to glucose. We all know this is also an irreversible reaction because it is energetically unfavorable, because this hexokinase reaction would require a phosphoryl group transfer from glucose 6-phosphate to ATP forming ADP. Phosphate to ADP forming ATP. So it is an energetically unfavorable reaction, and this reaction is catalyzed by glucose 6-phosphatase, and it does not require synthesis of ATP, and it is a simple hydrolysis of phosphate ester. Okay, and this enzyme is MT2 plus activated, and it is found in the luminal side of the endoplasmic reticulum of hepatocytes, adrenal cells. Muscle and brain tissue do not contain this enzyme, so what will happen? They cannot carry out gluconeogenesis. So in this case, glucose produced by the gluconeogenesis in the liver or kidney or glucose ingested in the diet is delivered to this brain and muscle cells through the bloodstream. So this is about gluconeogenesis and the three bypass steps of the glycolysis. First one is the conversion of PEP into conversion of pyruvate to phosphoenol pyruvate, then the conversion of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate to fructose 6-phosphate, and the final bypass, conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to glucose. Now we will discuss glycogenolysis or glycogen breakdown. Glycogen is a storage form of glucose. It is a very large branched polymer of glucose residues, and it can be broken down to yield glucose molecules when energy is needed. Glycogen has about 12 layers of glucose molecules, and approximately 55,000 glucose residues will be there, and most of the glucose residues is in the glycogen. They are linked by 1,4-glycosidic linkages or glycosidic bonds. There are branches at every 12 residues that are created by 1,6-glycosidic bonds. The controlled release of glucose from glycogen maintains the blood glucose concentration between meals. So the circulating blood keeps the brain supplied with glucose. We already talked about this brain cells cannot do gluconeogenesis. So it is always supplied by the bloodstream. So the circulating blood will keep the brain supplied with the glucose, which is virtually the only fuel in the brain. And Moreover, the readily mobilized glucose form of glycogen is a good source of energy for sudden strenuous activities. So, unlike fatty acids, the released glucose can be metabolized in the absence of oxygen and can thus supply energy for anaerobic activity. Glycogen is present in bacteria, in archaea, and also in eukaryotes. Plants store glucose as starch. It is a similar form of glycogen only. So, storing energy as glucose polymers is common to all forms of life. Glucose is the fuel of all the cells. In humans, most tissues have some glycogen, although the two major sites of glycogen storage is liver and skeletal muscle. The concentration of glycogen is higher in liver than in the muscle, that is 10% versus 2% by the weight, but more glycogen is stored in skeletal muscle overall because of the muscle's much greater mass. Glycogen is also present in the cytoplasm, with the molecule appearing as granules. In the cytoplasm, you can see glycogen has small granules in the microscope. In the liver, glycogen synthesis and degradation are regulated to maintain blood glucose levels, and it is required to meet the needs of the organism as a whole. In contrast, in muscle, these processes are regulated to meet the energy needs of muscle itself. So that is the difference between the storage of glycogen in liver and in muscles. Now we will discuss the process of glycogenolysis or glycogen breakdown. So, glycogen degradation consists of three steps. The first one is release of glucose 1 phosphate from glycogen. Second one, remodeling of the glycogen substrate to permit the further degradation. And third one, the conversion of glucose 1 phosphate into glucose 6 phosphate for further metabolism. This glucose 6 phosphate that is derived by the breakdown of glycogen has three possible fates. The first one, it can be metabolized by glycolysis. Second one, it can be converted into free glucose for release into bloodstream. And the third one, it can be processed by the pentose phosphate pathway to yield NADPH and ribose derivatives. The conversion of glycogen into free glucose mainly takes place in the liver. In the case of muscles, the need for ATP results in the conversion of glycogen to glucose 6 phosphate for entry into glycolysis. In liver, low blood glucose concentration triggers the glycogen breakdown to glucose 6 phosphate, which in this case is hydrolyzed to glucose and released into the bloodstream to reverse this situation. So there are different stressors for the breakdown of glycogen in the muscle cells and in the liver cells. This is a figure describing the glycogen breakdown and the fate of glucose 6 phosphate after the breakdown. We already told about it. It can be used in the glycolysis pathway or in the pentose phosphate pathway, etc. Now we will discuss the enzymes that is involved in the glycogen breakdown. Mainly there are three enzymes. The first one is glycogen phosphorylase, or simply you can say as phosphorylase, and it catalyzes the glycogen phosphorylases, that is the bone cleavage by the substitution of a phosphate group to yield glucose 1 phosphate or G1P in short. This enzyme will only release a glucose unit that is at least 5 units away from a branch point. So the first enzyme is phosphorylase, and they catalyzes the bone cleavage by substituting the phosphate group, and it will produce glucose 1 phosphate. Next is glycogen debranching enzyme. As the name suggests, the debranching enzyme removes glycogen's branches, and it will permit the glycogen phosphorylase reaction to be complete. This enzyme also hydrolyzes the alpha-1,6 linked glycosyl units, and it will yield glucose. So about 92% of the glycogen's glucose residues will be converted into glucose 1 phosphate. The remaining 8% that is present on the branch points are converted to glucose. The third enzyme is phosphoglucomutamase, and phosphoglucomutase converts this G1P to G6P, that is glucose 1 phosphate to glucose 6 phosphate. It is also formed in the first step of glycolysis to the action of hexokinase or glucokinase. So this glucose 6 phosphate can either go into glycolytic pathway or it can be hydrolyzed to glucose in the liver cells. Now we will discuss each of the enzyme in depth and their action. The first one is glycogen phosphorylase. It is a dimer of identical 842 residue and it is 97 kilodalton in weight. This is the enzyme that catalyzes the controlling step in the glycogen breakdown, and it is regulated both by allosteric interaction and by covalent modification. This enzyme catalyzed modification or demodification will yield two forms of phosphorylase, that is phosphorylase A, which has a phosphoryl group esterified to serine 14 in each of its subunits, and phosphorylase B, which lacks these phosphoryl groups. Both the structures, that is the phosphorylase A and phosphorylase B, have two domains, that is an N-terminal domain and a C-terminal domain. The N-terminal domain will be further divided into one interface subdomain, which includes the covalent modification site, the allosteric effector site, and all the intersubunit contacts in the dimer. And a glycogen binding subdomain is there, which contains the glycogen storage site. Catalytic site is located at the center of the subunit and which has these two subunits come together with the C-terminal domain. So these are all the domains that is present in this structure. The glycogen there forms a left-handed helix with 6.5 glucose residues per turn, that is similar to the amylose, and the glycogen binding site is 30 angstrom away from the catalytic site, but it is connected to the catalytic site by a narrow crevice able to accommodate 4 or 5 glucose units. So this large separation between the binding site and the catalytic site will enable the enzyme to phosphorylase many residues without having to dissociate and reassociate after each catalytic cycle. So the glycogen phosphorylase is a processive enzyme and it will greatly increase the catalytic ability of this enzyme. Glycogen phosphorylase also requires another coenzyme called pyridoxine phosphate. It is a derivative of pyridoxine, that is vitamin B6. The aldehyde group of this coenzyme, they forms a Schiff base-like linkage with a specific lysine side chain of the enzyme. So the PLP is having a 5-phosphate group and it acts in tandem with the orthophosphate and it serves a proton donor and it also acts as a proton acceptor, that is a general acid based catalyst. The orthophosphate donates a proton to the oxygen atom attached to the carbon 4 of the departing glycogen chain and it simultaneously acquires a proton from this phosphorate, this coenzyme pyridoxine phosphate. The carbonium ion intermediate that is formed in this step is then attacked by the orthophosphate and it forms a glucose 1 phosphate and it also is linked with the release of a proton to PLP. This special role of pyridoxine phosphate in this reaction is necessary because water is excluded from the active site. So here you can see the figure of phosphorylase enzyme and all its domains, that is the glycogen binding site, the catalytic site, the N-terminal domain, the C-terminal domain, and also the glycogen binding site. In the left you can see that PLP Schiff base linkage with the lysine of the present at the active site of the phosphorylase enzyme. The next enzyme is the debranching enzyme. The phosphorylase cannot cleave the branches, that is the 1,6 glycosidic bonds that is present in the branch points. So actually this phosphorylase will stop cleaving this 1,4 linkages when it reaches this branch point. So we know that about 1 in 12 residues in this glycogen is branched. So the cleavage of the phosphorylase will actually come to a halt after the release of 7 to 8 glucose molecules per branch. So there is another enzyme that is required, that is this debranching enzyme. So there are two enzymes, that is a transferase and a 1,6-glucosidase. So this will remodel this glycogen, and it will continue in the continue in this degradation pathway of phosphorylase. What this transferase enzyme do is that is actually shifts a block of 3 glycosyl residues from one outer branch to another. So what will happen, this transfer will expose a single glucose residue joined by the 1,6-glucosidic linkage. So it will shift block of 3 glycosyl residues from one outer branch to another. That is the activity of the transferase enzyme. The next enzyme, 1,6-glucosidase, it is also known as this debranching enzyme, and it hydrolyzes this 1,6-glycosidic bond. So by this pathway, a free glucose molecule will be released, and it is that phosphorylated by the glycolytic enzyme hexokinase. So the transferase and 1,6-glucosidase, they convert the branched structure into a linear one, and it will pave a pathway for phosphorylase degradation pathway. In eukaryotes, the transferase and the 1,6-glucosidase activities are present in a single 160 kilodalton polypeptide chain, that is a bifunctional enzyme. So in eukaryotes, both these, that is the transferase and this 1,6-glucosidase, is present in a single enzyme. It is such enzymes are called as bifunctional enzyme. So that is the debranching enzyme. An additional transferase is required, and 1,6-glucosidase enzyme. Two enzymes are required for the debranching of the glycogen into a linear chain of glucose. Now we will discuss the third enzyme, phosphoglucomutase. So this G1P, that is glucose 1-phosphate, formed in the phosphorylatic cleavage of glycogen. It should be converted into glucose 6-phosphate. Then only it can enter the pathway of glycolysis or pentose phosphate pathway, or it can go into liver for hydrolysis. So the shift of this phosphoryl group is catalyzed by phosphoglucomutase enzyme. To effect this shift, the enzyme exchanges a phosphoryl group with the substrate. Actually, the catalytic site of this mutase enzyme contains a phosphorylated serine residue, and actually this phosphoryl group of the serine is transferred into this glucose 1-phosphate. So that is the activity of this phosphoglucomutase enzyme. So the phosphoryl group from this serine residue of phosphoglucomutase enzyme is transferred to the C6-hydroxyl group of glucose 1-phosphate, and then it will form glucose 1,6-bisphosphate. Actually, the C1 phosphoryl group of this intermediate is then shuttled to the serine residue. So there is a recycling of the enzyme, and then the formation of glucose 6-phosphate happens. So actually this enzyme is recycled with the production of glucose 6-phosphate. So that is shown in this figure. So the phosphoryl group from the serine residue is given to the C6 carbon of glucose 1-phosphate, that will create glucose 1,6-bisphosphate, and then the C1 phosphoryl group is transferred back into the serine residue, and it will recycle the enzyme. Now we will discuss one more enzyme, that is glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme. A major function of liver in mammals or in mammals is to maintain a nearly constant level of glucose. So liver has to maintain a constant level of glucose throughout the body. So what will happen, this liver will release glucose into the blood between the meals and during muscular activity and during fasting and all. The released glucose is taken up primarily by the brain, skeletal and red blood cells, because they cannot there's no other source of glucose in these cells because they cannot do gluconeogenesis. In contrast with the unmodified glucose, however, the phosphorylated glucose produced by glycogen breakdown is not transported out of the cells. The liver contains a hydrolytic enzyme called glucose 6-phosphatase that enables the glucose to leave that organ. So, glucose 6-phosphate cannot leave the liver cells. Instead, there is an enzyme called glucose 6-phosphatase that is making this glucose be able to leave the liver cells. This enzyme actually cleaves the phosphoryl group, and it will release the free glucose and orthophosphate. This is actually the same enzyme that we discussed in the gluconeogenesis pathway that releases free glucose from glucose 6 phosphate. So it is located in the luminal side of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. This glucose 6 phosphate is then transported into the endoplasmic reticulum, and glucose and orthophosphate formed by the hydrolysis is shuttled back into the cytoplasm, and then it can leave the liver cells. So that is all about glycogen breakdown, how glycogen is broken down into glucose by several enzymes. We discussed 3 enzymes. At last we also discussed about glucose 6 phosphatase enzyme. So that is all about glycogenolysis or glycogen breakdown. Thank you.